thank you for joining us for what I think is a very timely subject, especially with the real estate market kicking off another busy season. I'm excited to have with us today 3 experts in their fields and 3 people who I trust unconditionally to give us their thoughts. Joining us today are Michael Henry, real estate agent with HG Agents and eXp Realty, Nichole Kruse, loan officer with Guild Mortgage, and Tracy Scheid, business development with Titles Professional Group. We're hoping to get some insight for people interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate. Maybe you've thought about upsizing, downsizing, buying property as an investment, or just seeing what your house is worth. So let's talk about the real estate market. First, introductions. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business. Mike?
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Gautam. Great to be here and with these fellow professionals here in our industry, and excited to share. So yeah, I'm a real estate agent for about 7 years, born and raised in Northeast Ohio, and I lead a team of about 8 real estate agents out of our Bainbridge office, and yeah, we sell 100 to 150 homes a year throughout Northeast Ohio. Kind of focus, most of our business is around the Chagrin Valley and Solon markets, kind of by referral primarily. So great to be here and excited to share and learn.
Thanks, Mike. Nichole?
Hi, everybody. Nichole Kruse. Thanks, Gautam, for having me here today. I'm with Guild Mortgage, and our office is right in Chagrin Falls, 1 South Main Street, Suite 2. I personally have been in the mortgage industry for about 19 years this year, in all aspects of the business, and been a loan officer here in Ohio for almost 9 years, longer than I really thought until I said it. So I'm just happy to be here and learn from all of you guys, and thanks again.
Thanks, Nichole. Tracy?
Hey, my name is Tracy Scheid with Title Professionals. Thanks for having me today, Gautam. I have been in the title industry for over 30 years. Our office is located in Chardon, Ohio, Geauga County, and we service Northeast Ohio.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys. So let's dig a little deeper. Mike, let's start with you. Give us a general overview of the real estate market as you see it and what you're expecting compared to maybe past years.
Sure. So yeah, general overview, it's been what I would call a seller's market here for some time in terms of, residential real estate, meaning that it's a great time to be a seller. It's a challenging time to be a buyer. And that's kind of been the name of the game here for the last several years, but it's grown more and more so as of late. If you're to take a look at the current active inventory in our market, crunch some numbers based on the number of homes that are selling on a monthly basis related to how many homes are currently active in our market. You can come up with the fact that there's less than 1 month of inventory of supply available. So just for comparison's sake, several years ago in a more balanced market, it's typically 5 to 7 months of inventory in the market. So we're looking at less than 1 month of inventory, meaning as soon as a home hits the market, it's flooded with showings and often sometimes many multiple offer situations. So it's been a challenge, and great opportunities and challenges that come with this type of market. In the commercial world, vacancies were a big deal, of course, when COVID came into play. The number of larger properties that were being purchased reduced by 20 to 30% last year. We're seeing that to start to rebound a bit. More businesses going back to work in person, and so that's been, I think, a positive thing in the commercial space. So
Yeah, it's not like, House Hunters anymore where they give you three choices and you get to pick one and they're waiting until you make a decision. I mean, there's a lot to consider if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Nichole, interest rates are going up. We've been hearing that for the past 3 years, and finally it's coming true. What are you seeing out there?
So that is true. So that seems to be what a lot of people are talking about as of lately. They are going up, but it's tough for many, and I think it's taken us back because we're coming off of a time where they were the lowest we've ever seen. So I think that's why sometimes it's tough to digest where they are now. Right now, it's a volatile market there's a couple factors that go into play there. The big one is to be inflation. And anybody who's watching the news, they're seeing the topic of inflation. Just on April 12th, I think March Consumer Price Index, the report shows that we were at the highest total level of inflation since 1982. So right now, you're kind of seeing that in the rates that I'm seeing right now compared to a year ago. In some cases, it's almost double. So right now, you're seeing the 30-year fixed around the low fives, and you're seeing a 15-year in the ballpark of low to mid fours. So compared to last year, that's much different, as we can remember. But still, when you think about it, in past years, they're still low. I mean, I'm just going to compare to 2004 because that's when I know. The 30-year fixed, I think, was in the high fives, mid sixes. So when you look at it in the whole scheme of things, they're still very low. Right now, what I'm seeing is that we're getting a lot of recommendations for our buyers to take a look to recommending to lock their rates, because it's really a 50-50 bet when choosing to float a rate or lock it. So that's really what we're seeing as of now. And I think we're going to continue to see this volatile market until the Fed meets on May 3rd and 4th to decide what they're going to do with the Fed rate and how it's going to help inflation and everything.
Yeah, I've never seen people so interested in what the Fed has to say as we do now. Compared to last year, the year before, and even that, I mean, after a while, as we kept thinking about the Fed raising interest rates and they didn't, we just kind of ignored them for a while. And now that they've actually said they're going to raise rates multiple times, I think we're all curious to see where it's going to land. So I appreciate the insight there.
Sure.
Tracy, we don't usually hear about title insurance until we're about to close on a property, and that's if you actually read the fine print. What's title insurance and why is it important?
Title insurance is purchased when you become a homeowner, and the policy is meant to protect the ownership interest in the property. It protects against losses incurred due to any title defects that existed prior to the purchase of the home. Standard purchase agreements indicate that policy premium is split between a buyer and a seller. And title fees are regulated by the state of Ohio. And usually this is a policy that you want to have for protection, but you never want to have to use it for title defects.
Yeah, and insurance is tough, right? It's something you hope you never have to take advantage of, but you're glad you have it when something comes up, which is the point, right? Is to put the risk elsewhere instead of onto you as a potential buyer of a property.
Exactly. And it's a one-time fee, and it remains on your property for however long you own your property.
I like that. One-time fees are good. With everything we pay monthly and annually, and a one-time fee is welcome.
Right.
So for each of you, I'll ask you this. People, I'd say, generally know what each of you do, but what's one thing that you do that most people wouldn't expect? Tracy, let's start with you.
Well, I think even through COVID, one of the benefits of working with title professionals is that we have online docu-signing. So it's convenient for buyers and sellers from start to finish. Clients can go ahead and sign their documents virtually. We have an online notary service that we can use as well. And also it gives updates throughout the transaction via text or emails to keep everybody in the loop as to what's going on. So technology is really big with our company, and we try to use that to our benefit through our transactions.
I'd say generally DocuSign is something that even as advisors, thanks to COVID, we're now able to e-sign a lot of the paperwork.
Mhm.
But as advisors, we've been yelling and screaming for years, why can you buy a house that's worth several $100,000 or more by e-signature, but you can't invest $50 without having to come in and sign paperwork in
Right.
person. So having all that electronic is nice.
It is.
Nichole, what's something that you do that most people wouldn't expect?
I really thought about this because I wanted to take it back to what a lot of my realtors and referral partners that use me, what do they say that I do differently or what they like? So I think the biggest complaint you hear in the mortgage industry or just in the loan process is poor communication. It's one of those things where they always feel like they are not sure what is next, or if they submitted everything and they just feel like they're out of the loop. And that's for the buyers, that is for the title company as well as the realtors. So I think where I am a little different and what some people don't expect is I'm involved from pre-approval process to the end. And I go above and beyond, and I communicate through the entire process with all parties because there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of different parties involved. So I make a point through every part of my transaction, to make sure that everybody's in the loop on the processing milestones for the loan process. That way it keeps the process seamless. And that's the way that I can get my loans closed and closings done in less than 30 days. So I think that's one of the ways that some people don't expect, where I'm a little different.
That's something that a lot of people don't think of either, right? They just think, oh, I'm trying to go get the biggest, the best rate I can get and the best terms, but they don't really shop the experience side of it, right? You
Yes.
only find out about that after you put your application in, and then you find out that you're having to jump through a lot more hoops than you think you did. So that's something I would encourage people to try and research as best they can. Mike, what about you and your team? Something that you do that most people wouldn't expect from a real estate team?
So mention a couple things quickly, if that's all right. One would be, we really just start the process with really getting to know our clients. This is truly a service industry, and it begins with us really understanding their needs, their wishes, and their priorities in this type of a transition. But we are, we take the approach of a day-to-day service agreement. So a lot of brokerages and agents out there will ask for a commitment of 6 months or a year and a listing agreement. We view it as a day-to-day arrangement, and at any time if one of our listing clients would like to put the house or take the house off the market or find a tenant and keep it or go in a different direction, we have no qualms with doing that. With a 24-hour notice, we can make those adjustments. We also offer a satisfaction guarantee for our buyers in the event a buyer is, and it's tough in this environment, there's not a whole lot of inventory, so people are kind of reaching on a property that might not be the perfect property. If our client gets into a house that and they realize within 6 months or a year, if it's within a year and they're not happy, they want to move on and move to a different home, then we will help them out of that house and sell it for them without a charge. And the third thing I'll mention is we have a moving truck available for our clients, whether they're currently moving or they've been a client in the past. Everyone's welcome to it. So those are a couple of differentiators for us.
That's big. Had you had that moving truck when we moved, I would have been all over that. Renting a U-Haul is fine as far as things go, but it's nice to be able to promote a business that you believe in as well. Mike, we constantly hear, make sure your offer is the best and highest. But not that long ago, you told me that in many cases, it's not the highest offer that wins out. So what are some things buyers can do to best position themselves when making offers?
Yeah, I would say, in an environment where you're often, as a seller, reviewing, 10, 15 or more offers on your home, it's really the terms that are the difference makers. And so, the things that buyers are able to do to make their offer stand out, things that we've done for a long time is just, higher earnest money. It's kind of, putting your best foot forward, setting some cash aside to go towards your down payment. But in the event that you back out of the deal with cold feet, you would give that up to the seller. So by offering more earnest money, it kind of reduces risk for the seller. Non-refundable down payments, something that we've seen more recently, similar to earnest money, but this is truly, something where, you can offer, hey, we'll give you an additional $10,000 check written out to the seller. In the event we back out, then they can just keep this money, regardless of whether something came up on the inspection or anything else. Speaking of inspections, reducing contingencies is obviously, an important consideration. The fewer contingencies for a seller, the better. And so, by not asking for inspections, for example, it's kind of a higher risk thing. So if you're able to, do as much diligence as you possibly can during the showing, or get an inspector, to walk through a property with you before offering, that is one way, we're able to help our buyers feel comfortable enough to move forward without that type of contingency. So escalation clauses, that refers to when someone's offering a price and offering that they will exceed any other price by, say, $2,000 with a cap. And it's a way to, offer a price maybe higher than the asking price, but not have to overpay unless there's another offer on the table that drives the ultimate sale price up. So those are just a few instances. Happy to elaborate on any of those if helpful.
I appreciate that, because a lot of times we hear with clients, I want to sell my house, or I want to, the hard part isn't selling your house, right? These days, it shouldn't be, at least. The hard part is buying it. But because you're kind of put into a fishbowl with so many other things and you're doing it blindly, having an expert that knows the market, that knows how to make offers, really should pay off in the end. Nichole, in the loan world, what are the biggest mistakes you see people make?
So there's a few. The mistake, and I think right now in this market, is waiting to get pre-approved. I think right now the first thing they need to do before they even start looking at houses is go through start the pre-approval process. And the reason being is I think it's important to have a clear picture of what they can afford, and also what the payment looks like. So that way, whenever they actually start looking at houses, because everything's going so fast, that they are ready to just move forward and make an offer. On the loan end, in regard to any kind of mistakes, I have this document that goes out in the beginning of the loan process called Rules of the Road. And it just kind of goes through all the things not to do while you're applying for a mortgage. So it's just things that people don't think of, whether it's moving money from a bunch of accounts, or buying a car throughout the loan process. All of those things, or any other large purchase, all of those things can affect your approval and affect your ability to get the loan. So those are just some things that they make the mistake, but not realizing the impact. But that's what I love about our rules of the road, is because it kind of goes through all of the things that could impact the loan.
Yeah, it's the first thing we always tell clients is if you don't know what you can afford, maybe let the bank tell you. Getting a pre-approval is, in my mind, the first step too, because it sets the stage for the things that will happen thereafter. What types of properties, what price range, what payment amount, things like that. So I would 100% agree with that.
I think the buying power is so important now today, especially because you want to make sure that, okay, you're pre-approved for a certain amount, but what if you have to go over a little bit? So then you know exactly the buying power you have if you start that process and get the pre-approval letter upfront.
And that's a big deal these days, because sometimes you don't know, everybody thinks they know their limit until you have to stretch just a little bit. And if you stretch just a little bit one too many times, you're gonna, you won't be able to sleep at night. So knowing where that limit is and how much you can truly afford will make a big difference.
Yes, yes.
Tracy, a lot of us take for granted what happens behind the scenes on the title side. A lot of that just doesn't, play into a lot of people's world. Tell us about, a horror story and what others could learn from it.
I would say a transaction we worked on a little while ago. The prior owner didn't receive title insurance. They bought it from a relative thinking that it was in the family, so the title should be clear. When this person went to go sell the property, there was an existing lien on the property that was never taken care of. So this went back several years. So it took a lot of digging, and it extended the sale date, incurred fees for the seller. So these are things, when you have title insurance up front, it would have cleared up that lien and there would have been no title issue at that time. So even if it's through family, it's still wise to get title insurance and a title search on the property before you take title to the property.
It's a good example. Again, with any kind of title issues, you won't find out until it is an issue. And so that's the worst part of it, is to try and identify what those are ahead of time so it doesn't come back to bite you.
Right.
Mike and Nichole, for both of you, for someone considering purchasing an investment property, rental as an example, what's the best advice you could give?
You want to go first, Mike? You want me to go?
Sure, I'll take a stab. So one thing I would suggest is, you're buying an investment. It's obviously a business, and numbers are the language of business. So you've got to make sure that that's going to be a profitable endeavor. And when someone's out there and kind of scanning properties online and trying to figure out where to begin, what may or may not be a good house, it's easy to get kind of lost because there's obviously so many different cities and communities and considerations, and trying to figure out, well, what's the potential rental income on a property or purchase price. One kind of rule of thumb that I often recommend is, if you're looking at buying a home to rent out, you want to be able to get at least $1,000 per month of rental income per $100,000 of the purchase price. So obviously it's important to go much deeper than that, because there's different factors such as property taxes are all over the board depending on which community you're looking in. So, but general rule of thumb, if you see something that's $200,000, the quick math to do is to say, hey, if it's $200,000, is this a neighborhood where I can likely get $2,000 per month in rent? If the answer is maybe or yes, then that might be a property worth doing a little bit more diligence on and spending some time on. So that's just kind of one strategy to kind of start picking out some potential options for income properties.
And that's the hard part, I think, is how do you, if you're buying a house to live in it, you don't really worry about all that stuff, right? But if you're buying a property to make money on it, the hard part really is how do you figure out what all, how do you reconcile all that information, right? The location, type of property, plus whether it's a property that's going to need work over time, all the sort of landlord questions that you end up having to deal with. And when it's all said and done, it could work out very well. But as some of the most successful investors have said, you don't make money on the sale, you make money on the buy side, right? When you buy it is where you make the money. And so having an expert, having somebody that can help you identify that and distill some of the options down will go a long way. Nichole?
I think right now, my best advice would be when looking to purchase investment properties is to get pre-approved to learn about the specific loan products available. The reason why I say that is because not every bank or lender offers products for investment properties. They don't all offer it. So it's good to look on the ones who do offer it on the investment properties because the requirements are different, such as the down payment requirements and reserve requirements. So I think it's good to know upfront what is available and what are the down payment requirements, what are the reserve requirements for an investment property, because it's very different from buying a primary. There are just different requirements for investment properties and second homes. So that's probably why that starting the pre-approval process again would be very, very important starting first step just to see where they are. And that'll kind of go back to the mortgage interest rate topic in the beginning, because the mortgage interest rates are very borrower specific. So what I mean is that every buyer, there's not like a flat rate for it. It's based on credit score, down payment, occupancy type, and loan sizes. That's how the mortgage rates are determined. And just recently, actually this month, there has been a huge adjustment to rates for investment properties and second homes. So that's why I think that it would be really important, the best advice to start there.
And that's true. Lenders do look at residential and investment properties differently. So I think it's important to know what you're getting into. Everybody likes the idea of having a real estate portfolio of rentals and it creates income, but a lot of people don't understand what it takes to get the properties to a place where you don't have to think about them. And so again, when you're looking, the pre-approval becomes important because at its most basic level, even if you never get tenants, this property is still going to cost you money and you want to make sure you know what's coming.
And with I think I may be a little different in the way that every pre-approval I give a loan cost worksheet. So they have a snapshot of what they're going to have to invest to buy the home, as well as what the monthly payment is going to be, including taxes and insurance. So that'll just give them a nice snapshot.
That's nice. And I hate surprises. And the one thing I always liked about working with you is that you always know where you're going before you go there. And I think that's huge, especially even if you bought properties before, sold properties before, it changes all the time. And it's nice to know where you're going before you get there.
Yes, thank you.
Tracy, it's not widely known that people can actually choose their own title company. How do they go about that if a title company is already pre-selected?
Well, the relationship is usually between the title company and the realtor, and the realtor would recommend a title company for their buyer or seller to choose to use. We can, however, give a quote if a buyer or seller wants to shop around for fees. Some of our fees do fluctuate, but as I mentioned, the policy is regulated by the state. But closing fees, exam fees, some of those can fluctuate in prices. So if you're looking to shop prices, or if you know somebody in the industry that you'd like to work with, you can definitely recommend to use them. I know sometimes sellers like to choose the title company they used on their last transaction when they purchased the home. Sometimes that goes that route, but they do have an option. Even when they refinance, they can choose a title company to handle the title work for the lender. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Mike, we just bought our house a couple of years ago. And we're not interested in selling it, but how would we or someone else go about finding out what their own home is worth? I mean, going to, Zillow or one of these sites, is that good enough? What do you suggest for somebody who just wants to know what their home's worth?
And there are programs out there like Zillow, Redfin, different automated valuation programs that, based on market data, will kind of apply an estimated value. I see more value in the range. So if you do some extra clicking through Zillow, for example, you'll find an automated valuation range. Those ranges, generally more accurate, obviously, than just a flat number. But at the end of the day, these companies don't know a whole lot about the condition of the home. If your home is in absolute average condition and you live in a very much a cookie cutter community, it could be pretty accurate. That said, the best way, I think to get a gauge on your value is to call your real estate professional, your preferred realtor partner, and have them come out and take a look at the house, or begin with a conversation, explain to your agent, what are the improvements you've made over the years, what are some of the standout features, how might you may know as a homeowner how it compares to some of your neighbors' homes. And with that information, and then with a visit to the property, an agent can really narrow it down for you. At the end of the day, it's still a much tighter range. The only way to identify, true what the market is going to bear is by, getting it out there to the world with some effective marketing, getting as many qualified home buyers through, and seeing what the market will say.
Yeah, and that's true, right? You don't know what it's worth until you know what somebody's willing to pay for it. And we've seen friends that have listed their house just to see what the market would bear. And then if they get a number that they can't turn down, then they decide to sell it. And if they don't, then they at least know what they think the house is, a realistic idea of what the house is worth. Mike, another question for you. 4 words we've seen a lot more lately: for sale by owner. Lately, people think they can stick a sign in the yard and their home will just sell itself. What advice do you have for people considering for sale by owner?
Yeah, not surprised to hear that, and that you're seeing that and hearing that, because we hear it all the time. Even with our clients who are not considering for sale by owner, it's almost every appointment, a listing appointment I go on, the seller will tell me, oh, by the way, I have a family member or a neighbor who's interested in buying the home. And so, we'll make those buyers exempt from the agreement, from a listing agreement, and move forward without that. But 99% of the time, that does not end up being the buyer. I've got another story to share. I have a client who was getting ready to list their home. She was going to sell it to a family member, and they had agreed on a price. Her nephew had cold feet at the last minute. She thought it was a very fair price. She was going to sell it to her nephew. Come to find out, after having listed the home on the market and with our team, the home was worth about $50,000 more than she thought. And I guess moral of stories are just that, you don't know what the market's going to bear until you put it out there. If you're looking for a quick sale, no hassle, and no showings, or you've got a special relationship with someone where you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, then by all means consider that. But if your goal is to truly net the absolute most you possibly can as a seller, then you owe it to yourself to work with a local real estate agent and, get it out there to the world and, have a professional negotiating on your behalf. Because there's a lot more to it than just, going back and forth on a sticker price.
Yeah, and we've seen that too. You start with for sale by owner. It doesn't really work out the way you think. And then you end up having to harness the power of a marketing team that can put it out there and really show the world what you have to offer. And so, but we see it from time to time, and they don't want to pay the fees. And so they do for sale by owner. They just, a lot of people don't realize how much work it's actually going to be to be available for the showings and to do all the things that, you would normally do for your clients, so that the clients don't have to do it themselves.
Great.
For all of you, that I don't know how else to say it. The real estate market right now is cutthroat. You're going in blind. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what other people's, what hands they're holding and what cards they're going to play. So from each of your perspectives, what can buyers and sellers do to reduce the stress that comes with buying or selling a property? Let's start with Tracy, then Nichole, then Mike.
I would feel that a buyer or seller, if they have questions, ask them up front. Ask them to their real estate agent, their loan officer, even their title company. Get as much information as you can, and then understand, ask them what the process, what to expect. And if they know what to expect right up front, then they'll be set throughout the transaction, and it will ease anxiety as they go through the closing process.
Now I'm gonna drill it down again. Get pre-approved. I think to make it so simple in this market is start the pre-approval process, but reach out to your local lenders, because that's really important too. Right now, starting the pre-approval process gives them the information to fully understand their financial situation and what they can afford. So, and then it often brings up the conversation, if they own a home, do they plan on selling it prior to buying? Sale contingency is a big topic this year. Wouldn't you agree, Mike?
For sure. Always.
If you're gonna, I feel like I'm hearing it more this year than not. It's tough right now to go in with a contingent offer because it's not, I'm just hearing that a lot of times they want to know that these people the buyers can move fast. So I think it's important when you start the pre-approval process, it gives you all the information you need and also starts the conversation on if you have to sell a home, do you plan on selling prior to buying? That is so important. So I think it's important to reach out to your local lenders and start the pre-approval process.
Mike, thoughts?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of a broad statement. I would say you want to, as a buyer or seller, identify the professionals who are going to be in your corner at a very early phase in the game, so you can be prepared. You need to have those conversations with your agent and your lender about, what can I afford comfortably? What is that payment going to look like? And then, what are the market conditions? Can I expect, if I find a home that I love, can I expect that I'm actually going to be able to buy it? That's a real, sadly, a real conversation right now. And so, yeah, I think it's just important to, talk to your people who are by your side and find a great agent to represent you. And, we're able to refer our clients to a lot of people who can help them, whether they're dealing with, some issues of trying to get organized or staged or packing or cleaning or whatever it may be. We've got folks we can refer our clients to help in that regard. Something for sellers I'll throw out there. If your home is in relatively good condition, I highly recommend getting a preliminary home inspection completed before going on the market. And the reason for that is that contingency process is one of those factors that puts a lot of stress on a seller. Nobody wants to be in a spot where, you know, they're going to take the home off the market, go into contract, just to have to go back and put it back on the market because, you know, somebody's, you know, come back and, you know, pushing hard about repairs or nickeling and diming them for little things. By getting that pre-inspection completed with a home inspector, then you're able to provide that report as part of your disclosures before buyers even see the property. You know, those buyers can take that in mind, and more often than not, those buyers will then be, you know, prepared and mentally ready to submit an offer without that home inspection contingency. So that's another idea there for you.
Fantastic. So the last question for all of you is, what do you love most about what you do? What wakes you up? What gets you motivated? What do you love most about what you do? Mike?
So I would say at the end of the day, it's just helping people. You know, getting into a new home is an extremely important piece of, you know, what someone's trying to do. If they're looking to make a move or relocating, nothing's more important than where you're going to live and in your house. And so to be a part of that, that process and walking people through and eventually handing them the keys to their new home that they love, there's nothing better. I feel very, very fortunate to be in the business I'm in.
Nichole?
I love meeting new people. So I think, and I've always been a helper and a giver, but I think to go on what wakes me up every morning is I love the team I work with, everybody I work with, whether it's the people I work with within Guild, my realtors. I've built the best relationships within my entire operations team. I've worked with them for a long time, and they're what keep me going. And then I get to meet all new people upon my move here to Ohio. I've met the best people here, realtors, title company, all my referral partners. So I think just to nail it down, it would be the people and the fact that everything else just falls into place.
We're in a people business, right?
Yes.
The people come first. Tracy?
I would reiterate that. It's meeting people. I work with several different lenders and real estate agents, and just helping buyers and sellers with questions. Every transaction is different, and so you learn something new all the time. And we have a wonderful staff as well, a lot of knowledge with everything that they do every day, and you're just constantly learning and growing and going over challenges, and it's nice to meet people as well.
Well, that's why I wake up, right? It's because of the people.
Mhm.
So for each of you, any final comments, and then tell us what's a good referral for you. Tracy?
A good referral for me would be a buyer or seller looking to purchase property. I can help with the closing transaction. Any real estate agents that are looking to partner with a title company or a lender, those are best contacts for me.
Thank you. Nichole?
I want to thank you again, Gautam. I appreciate this. I like doing this with this team of people here. You're all awesome. A good referral for me today is any buyers out there, anybody looking to refinance now or in the future. And then also any realtors who are looking to add another lender to their toolbox. That would be great referrals for me today. Thank you,
Mike.
Yeah, just thanks again for having us. And, you know, if anybody out there has questions about the market, questions about how to prepare for market, or, you know, what the process is, you know, first-time home buyers, we really enjoy working with first-time home buyers. But yeah, we're here to be a resource for you all. And yeah, I'll just leave my contact information, my cell phone anyone can reach me anytime by text if that's the easiest for you. 216-973-1402. And it's Michael Henry, HG Agents and eXp Realty.
Thanks, Mike. And we'll definitely provide contact information as well. So if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to each of you directly. As a financial advisor, I pride myself in helping our clients no matter what, especially if that means relying on experts in areas we're not. In the case of real estate, I know enough to be dangerous, and that's the last thing I want to be. So thank you all for helping educate many of us who thought we knew the real estate world. Knowing who to talk to will get you farther than you ever thought. And in real estate, as with anything, being prepared is one of the keys to success. Thank you for joining us, and happy house hunting.
Thank you.
Take care.